Hello and welcome back. I'm your friendly neighborhood technician. Today you see behind me here, I have some stuff. Now we're going to work on doing the brake upgrade on the 124 using the CLK55 pads and rotors and calipers and all that front and rear. So we're doing a complete brake swap on that. And then, but before that, there are some parts that I want to powder coat. And this is powder, that's clear. That's racer red, clear, and then here's the powder coating gun. So that is something else. I'll show you that in a second. That's just cranberry juice, I promise. Or do I promise? Either way, and a respirator and high temperature tape, and that right there are high temperature grommets for plugging up holes and whatnot. So, but I'm going to show you all that stuff. So you're going to follow me through doing the brake upgrade, and then you're also going to follow through with me on learning how to use all this stuff and learning how to powder coat, because I've never done that before. So I figured, you know, why pay somebody a little bit of money to powder coat these things when I could just spend a shitload of money and do it all myself. So that's what I did. And I even have an oven right there connected to a propane tank. So we're going to learn how to do that and go through all the stuff together. So this is the Eastwood PCS 150 single voltage powder coating system. I got this one because I didn't want to go as cheap as the Harbor Freight powder coating gun, which was cheaper than this. But that one, the powder coating gun on the Harbor Freight one has the reservoir on top here. And I've seen people have issues with that specific gun. So I figured I'd just go a little bit more expensive and go with this one. And I went with Columbia coatings. I didn't go with prismatic or anything like that. I don't know where I saw these. I forget where I saw them online, but I went with them. The shipping was real quick and it showed up at my house before I thought it was going to show up. So I got this. I have the Racer Red and I have a Super Clear. Now these are oil resistant, and they are basically made to be outside and made to, they're UV resistant, so they'll last a lot longer than other ones. So if you're going to be, depending on what type of powder coating you're going to need and want and going to be doing, you do want to check the specs for the powder that you are going to go with, because you want to make sure it's going to withstand whatever you throw at it, which these two things will. But with this color, I wanted to emulate sort of the color of the brake calipers on like an AMG GT 4-door. And this was the closest one that I could find. And you're going to want a respirator. I got a full face because you don't want this powder getting in your eyes, and it's got replaceable filters. This one came with, again, on Amazon. And then you got the high temperature tape right here. And then again, the plug kit. I've already used some of the tape because I've already taped up one of the caliper mounting brackets just to have something to demonstrate with you guys, and the totally cranberry juice, and the $30 oven that I got off Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, one of those two. Well, actually, technically it's a $230 oven because I bought it for 30 bucks, and then I had to spend $200 getting it fixed because the circuit board right there was toast and it wasn't sending out the proper voltage to where it needed to get sent. And after that, I had to replace the safety valve in the bottom of the oven underneath that panel way in the back. I'll show you when we go around the other side. But that one wasn't allowing the gas to go through to the burner. So I have this. This is a grill thermometer. I have it right there, just so I can monitor the actual interior temperature of the oven, because this will tell you when this goes off. This I already checked it also when I had this at 200 degrees. The actual interior temperature of it was 250. So something we got to monitor on that so we don't go too hot on that. So I had to get a new gas line. Oh, so it's probably more than that. It's probably closer to 300 bucks because this was like 20 or 30 bucks for the gas line. I had to get a new regulator because I had to do propane because I'm in the garage. I don't have a gas outlet in or a spare one in the garage. So I had to hook up a propane tank to it, and so I had to get a new regulator, a new hose, and this right here. So it's probably closer to 300 bucks for that. So here's that safety valve that I had to replace right there. But it works now. So now we can get to powder coating. So over here is, you can see here's the caliper mounting bracket. It's already been prepped, so it does have a little bit of this surface rust here. That's actually something, oh, here it is. It's surface prep. Another thing from Columbia Coatings right here. It's all prep, so you got to dilute this. There's the instructions on how to dilute it. And then you have to rinse this off after you get it all degreased. and then you have to basically do surface prep it. So that all that surface stuff on there, that surface is like all this discoloration right there, that's normal. But all the taping that we did, because there's some machine surfaces that we don't want powder on right there. This whole surface I've taped off, that whole surface I've taped off, that little surface right there. Stop moving. That surface right there. Either way, that surface has been taped, and all these surfaces in here have been taped off. So all that shininess right there, all that's been taped off, as well as all the area inside here where the brake pads actually sit. That's all been taped off too, because we don't want powder in those areas. So we're going to need to put a plug in there and in there, just so we can keep the powder from getting into the threads right there, which is going to be a little tricky because the yellow plug that I need to use is sticks out pretty much. So I'm going to have to make sure I get powder in all these little crevices, because especially right behind here is going to be a little pain in the ass to get powder, because it's not going to want to go around the little piece of rubber that's going to be in its way. So that's something we're going to have to deal with. So this thing I have here, I have this setup here, is because watching other videos on YouTube about powder coating. This guy powder coated some beadlock rings for his tires that he colored in like some neon green, and when he was done, his entire garage floor was covered in the powder, and I don't want to cover everything in my garage here in powder. So I found another video, and they said get a plastic bin and a filter for a house, and then a box fan right there. So I cut out the bottom of the bin. This was 10 bucks. That box fan was 20 bucks at Home Depot, and that filter was 8 bucks or something like that. I have some extras down there. So I did that. So hopefully when I do this, it's going to pull all the extra powder into that filter and not land all over the floor here. So, and then I got a bunch of these. I got this metal rod that I had put through here so I can clamp the ground right here for the powder coating gun. And then I got these clips that are heavy duty enough to hold a bracket, hold a caliper, and it spins. So I can make sure I get every single nook and cranny for powder in every single nook and cranny. So there's that. The only complaint I have with Columbia Coatings is acquiring this stuff right here. Now, when you go on their website and you order the powder, you put the powder in your cart, then you order the stuff, you pay for shipping, you pay everything, it shows up at your house. At no point in that purchasing process do they have anything that says, oh, we recommend you buy this, or any other recommended products for your powder coating procedure or whatever you're going to do for powder coating. But when you get the powder in the box, there's a piece of paper in there that says that they highly recommend using this stuff right here. Now, had they recommended that when I bought the stuff on the website, I would have bought it and it would have showed up at the same time. But then I had to buy this separate, wait more to get it shipped, wait longer to get it shipped, and then wait for it to show up in my house. So that's my only complaint about Columbia Coatings. So if anybody from Columbia Coatings is watching this, put something when somebody orders powder. Hey, we recommend you buy this product. We highly recommend, because in all caps on that piece of paper in the box with the powder, it said highly recommend. If you highly recommend it when I'm trying to buy the shit. So while we have the part in the oven preheating, you want to preheat thicker objects, because that's just what they tell you to do. So I got that in there. Preheating. Got it set to 400 degrees, which is what the cure temperature is on this. 400 degrees. We're starting with the red. 10 minutes, 400 degrees. So what's going to happen is we're going to take this out in a little bit. Maybe let it sit there for 5 more minutes. Take it out, and we're not going to immediately start throwing powder on this thing, because then it's going to the powder is going to melt and it's going to flow. But we don't want it to do that. We just want to help the powder adhere to the part a little bit better, which hot objects do. The powder does adhere to hot objects a little bit better. So that's what we're doing. Then we're going to put it in there. And when you get your gun, you get your air line that I have run over all the way to there. When you get your air line, you're going to want about 10 psi or less, coming out of your gun, probably for this specific gun, it says 8 PSI is ideal, but 5 to 10 is what you want. So I set it to just a little bit below 10. So once we get this thing out, we're gonna start putting powder on it. As you can see, I did change things up a little bit. I put bolts in here to protect the threads instead of sticking this section of hanger through there. And then I completely taped it off that end. And then I put bolts in this end, bolts with heads on them that were about the same size as the area that I wanted to protect. So I put those in there, and those stick out just a tiny bit. You can see right here. So now I don't have to use the yellow plugs in there and risk not getting any powder in the behind that yellow plug. So hopefully this works out a lot better. And when you do this, you're gonna want, like I said, a respirator or some kind of at least something so you don't inhale the powder. I wanted this because I don't want to get this in my eyes. So when you fill up your reservoir, you're going to want something about like that on there. You don't want to fill it up completely because it just won't work. So a little bit less than half would be perfect. Now we wait. I'd say that thing worked like a charm. Beats getting powder everywhere all over my garage, especially bright ass red like this. So I definitely maybe kind of sort of really did go kind of thick on the coat. You can see on the bottom of this bolt, it's starting to drip off a little bit like there. So yeah, I went a little heavy, but overall, the actual finish does not look bad. This is straight out of the oven, so this thing is still way too hot to touch, but the actual finish looks okay. It's smooth. I mean, it's as far as the contour of the cast metal goes, the finish is smooth. There's no bubbles or any kind of defects that I don't really like. I mean, I don't know what this is going on right there a little bit. Maybe that's just metal. Maybe it's just the texture of the metal. I'm not sure, but. And this is all taped off, all where the brake pads sit. Those bolt holes, that bolt's gonna come out. These two bolts are gonna come out, and then all that's gonna come out right there. So we'll see what it looks like when I take off all the tape after it cools down and I can actually touch it. All right, so here is the finished caliper mounting bracket. All untaped and everything right there. You can see all those nice machine surfaces and everything right there. Yeah, it's a little discolored, but that's just from where the brake pad sits right here and everything. So I'm not worried about that. There's no buildup or anything right there. So, yep, I'm kind of liking it. Now we're going to do the other one. Then I'm going to do the brake calipers next after I do the other mounting bracket. All right, so here's the caliper that matches that bracket. Now we're going to go powder coat this. It's all taped off, and I have grommets in the holes that need grommeting. So we're going to do this. It's fresh out of the oven, so it's nice and hot. I'm going to let it sit here for a few minutes. Now, one thing I want to go over. When I was doing the bracket, I didn't use that diffuser right there because it didn't seem to be spraying in the pattern that I was enjoying. So it was diffusing a little bit too much when I was trying to apply the powder. So I'll try it again with this one on there before, and the closer you move that little piece at the end towards the gun, the wider the pattern will be. So we'll try it again, but I'm probably going to end up having to take that diffuser off again just to get this thing covered properly. Alrighty, here's the caliper. Got all the tape removed from the contact areas for the brake pads. You can see right there. I had right here in the front, all the machine surfaces basically, I taped off. So all those surfaces right there for the pistons, and then on the bottom here, and then right there. And then like I said right there, there's the surface for the pad to slide on. Still got to do these two. This one's already taped off. You can see right there where I put tape, and then I taped off all right there. So then it looks just like this when you remove the tape. Okay, now that they're powder coated, I'm gonna show you how to take a caliper like this, bare caliper, with the pistons out of it, and turn it into a complete caliper, like this, with the pistons in it. New seals, new boots, new rubbers, new pins, even a new bleeder screw, and little rubber cap. Okay, the parts you're gonna need are gonna be this boot kit right here, A001-421-01-8664. Now this comes with the seal for the piston, which is right here, and it comes with new boots for right here, for the outside of the piston, for the new dust caps. These are the rubbers and the little plastic caps that go on the end, right there, to protect the pins. 000-420-007664. And the pins, brand new pins right here, are going to be part number 000-421-08-1864. And then the new bleeder valve, 000-421-2865. 2865-64. First thing you want to do is you want to take the instructions and then you want to throw them away. Okay, so you see the seal. Now the seal, if you look right here, it seems like be a lot bigger than the actual piston, but it's really not. Once you get this in here, this will actually size down a little bit, and then the caliper here will snug it down a little bit, and it'll fit this really, really snug. First thing you want to do, make sure that the piston is clean. You can see right here, there's a little bit of adhesive residue from when I taped these off, from when I had them in the media blaster when they were inside the actual caliper. So you want to make sure there's nothing on there that can damage the seal or get in the way of the seal, because that'll just cause a leak, and then you'll have to take it all back apart. Okay, then you want to get these in here, and you want to kind of feed it in there. And it will seem like it's, like you see right here, it seems like it's going to be too big for the space that it's supposed to fit in, but it goes in there really well. We may take an attempt or two. And you want to make sure it's not twisted like this. So you want to make sure you get your eyes all the way around it. Something like that. So if you look in there, kind of hard, it actually fits in the hole. Now if you look, there's actually two grooves. There's a groove here, then there's a groove there. This fits on the inner groove. The boot, this right here, will actually fit on the outer groove. Okay, there you go. So the next part is kind of tricky because you have to get the boot and the piston in together. You can't, if you try to put the piston in first and then get the boot on afterwards, there's not enough space between the outside edge of the piston and the actual lip right here. You're not going to be able to wedge this under between the piston and this lip right here. You won't be able to fit this in there, and then you're gonna have to remove the piston again. Ask me how I know. So what you got to do is you got to get some brake fluid and make sure you use .4 plus, which is what Mercedes uses, .4 plus, and you need to lube up one of the pistons. And also, you're going to need to lube up the seals in the caliper. Don't be afraid of using too much brake fluid. The more the better, because you want that seal to be nice and wet with brake fluid, because the wetter it is, the easier it goes in. That's what she said. So, just like that. Then, you want to get the boot goes like this, because this is the inside of the piston, this is the inside of the boot. So you want to get this on just on the very, very, very edge. And I'll show you why in a second. Okay, this is the tricky part, and it helps to have something that's semi-pointed but not sharp, because you don't want to poke any holes. You don't want to poke any holes in the rubber seal there. So I have this broken pick. You can see the end's all flat, that I just kept a hold of. So now what you're going to do is you need this seal towards the boot, towards the, oops, I just popped it off. But you need it towards the back end of the piston, because you have to make sure the seal can go like this, because you have to get it in here. Because remember, like I said, if you have the piston in at all, you're not going to be able to fit this lip of the seal in here. So you kind of have to get it in there at an angle, but try not to push too much, because you're going to push the piston in, and then you're going to block your passage of block your way of trying to get that seal in there. So you kind of got to almost feed this boot the lip in first. So you got to be able to push it down and in. Kind of like that. So now, once the lip of the boot is in, now you can get the piston in. Try to get it in there straight, like that. And then you kind of got to massage it in there. Then once it gets started, you'll feel it get started. You can kind of feel it get in there too. So, but like I said, there he goes. Just like that. Now we gotta do the other one. And make sure you do this, especially this, so the second one, with the bleeder valve out. Because if you don't, you're gonna be fighting this. You're gonna try to be fighting air pressure when you're trying to get that back in there. Next, you're gonna wanna put your rubber bushings in, and they go in this way, not this way, or that way. They're going that way. Now they can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but they have a little wax coating on it, so it's possible. You just gotta get it in there. See, almost there. The last little bit can be a little difficult. You might have to get something in here to kind of help the lip of the boot come out of the hole. If you have a small fine screwdriver flathead, that helps too. Next, put your pins in. Now, when we install this caliper, I'm going to take these pins out and I'm going to lube them up, but I'm just keeping them there in place. Then you're going to put your caps on. Then, your bleeder screw. That doesn't go there. That's where the brake hose goes. Got to take that one out. It's a 7mm. Give it a little snug. Oh, the part number for the little cap, 0004210887. And congratulations, you have a rebuilt caliper. All right, so now we are going to go from this to this. Okay, this side is already on because I'm not gonna sit here and learn how to do it in front of you guys. I'm gonna do it first and then I'm gonna show you how to do it. Now, there was quite a bit of jankiness that had to go on to get these to fit, and I'm gonna explain that to you in a bit. But I screwed up basically, so I'm gonna show you how I had to get these to fit on this car, and I'm not proud of it, but you know, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna show you, you know, the jankiness that I had to do, and you know, it is what it is. They're the brakes that I have. If I had a choice to upgrade using different brakes, yeah, of course I would, and I'll show you why. Okay, so here's the caliper I haven't installed yet. You see this right here? I had to make that for a reason. That's because I was not able to put the left side caliper, which this is, on the left side of the car. Because when I test fit these things, I may have not fitted them properly, but when you mount this up, you cannot have a brake line attached to this right here with this caliper installed, because the steering knuckle goes right here. There's about that much space between the steering knuckle and the end of this right here. So here's where the jankiness comes into play. I can install these if I install the passenger side on the driver's side, which raises several problems. One, the brake hose that comes from this way no longer reaches the caliper. So you got to make this little piece right here out of some brake lines and some extra fittings. And then you got a bubble flare right there. But problem number two, when you swap them to the other side, the bleeder valve is no longer on the top of the caliper. Bleeder valve is on the bottom of the caliper where you don't want it. So to bleed these things properly, I'm going to have to get this thing all connected and tight and snug, and then physically take off the caliper and turn it upside down so the bleeder screw is on top while I'm bleeding that corner. So, will they work? Yes. Are there better options? Also yes. But I've already made it this far, and these are the brakes I have, so these are the brakes I'm going to use. All right, here's what I'm talking about. See how the bleeder valve is down there? I'm gonna have to take this wheel back off. I just put it up there just to make it so you guys can see what it looks like with the brakes installed and the wheel on. So I'm gonna have to take this off when I bleed it, and then yeah, I need a new outer tie rod, or at least the ball joint for the outer tie rod. But here's that piece of brake line that I had to make with a little adapter right there. So that's just so it can clear the steering knuckle, because like, see how it's pointing downwards? The other one was pointing right there at that. So now the brake hose will clear, and this swings from lock to lock, and it doesn't touch anything, doesn't make contact with anything. So that's the jankiness that I got to do. All right, so here's the part number for the passenger side, A210-421-1912. The driver's side is A210-421-1812. And they are different. I'll point out the differences in a second. All right, there we are. Unboxed. AMG, yeah, sexy. Anyway, so you can see the vanes right here are angled one way. So you'll notice that when they're on the car, I believe, so this side's gonna be aimed like that, and I think the other side is aimed the same as well. Okay, you can see right there that they are angled away from the direction of rotation. So here's your hub. You are going to need to tap these little dowels in flush with the hub. You're also going to need to make a slight cosmetic adjustment to the backing plate. You're also going to need a couple of decently thick washers. This is about 2.3 millimeters, and they're going to go right there between the steering knuckle and the mounting bracket for the caliper. And that's going to center the mounting bracket on the brake rotor. Also, you're going to need some new bolts. These ones are slightly longer, I believe, than the old, actually, you know what? There we go, let's see something here. Actually, pretty much the same length as the old factory bolts for the original rotors, or the original mounting brackets, but I'm going to use these ones because they have a flange on it, and I like them better, and they're cleaner and newer. Then you can throw your caliper on and get the angle of the dangle of your little brake line here, and then swing it back and forth, make sure nothing's going to hit, and then you get to bleeding. Don't put your bracket on yet, because you're just going to need to take this right off right now. All right, here they are. So I've been driving on these things for quite a while for multiple reasons. One, I was debating on whether I should release this video or not because of how janky this setup is. But it works, the car stops. So right now, where I left off was I didn't have any brake wear sensors installed, or the harnesses for the brake wear sensors. So I had to eBay some of these right here. Here's the part number, if it'll, there it is, A202 440 8108. So I had to eBay those. These are actually, honestly, off. I found these for a Chrysler Crossfire, which is basically the same thing as a SLK. So I found these on eBay. They're like 15 bucks for two of them, I think it was. They're no longer available, so I had to do that. So I had to splice into the original brake wear sensor harness and do the other end of this. Yeah, cut that off. If it'll focus.
anyway, so I had to cut this off, and then so I could actually use the factory harness that plugs into the factory engine harness up there, or body harness, wherever it plugs into. And so now I have you can see right there, I actually have a brand new brake wear sensor. So I had to basically get off my ass to actually do this part of it. And then I had to order these brake wear sensors that just came in today, honestly, so I can get those things installed so I can actually have functioning brake wear sensors. So they're installed. I don't have the back done, but I'm gonna do the back in another video, because the backs also have I'm gonna replace all of the parking brake shoes. I'm going to do all of that in the next video, and I still have the CLK55 rear calipers to install and rear rotors to install also. So I'm going to do that in the next video. All right, that's it for this video. Like I said, I was even debating on whether I should release this video or not, just because how janky the setup is, because I honestly didn't check the fit before I went ahead and started doing everything, before I powder coated and all that stuff. So the brake line setup is not ideal. It works, but it's not ideal. You do have to take the caliper off to actually bleed it properly, because the bleeder screw is now at the bottom of the caliper. You can see it down right there. So, but they do make a bleeder valve for their bleeder screw for calipers. You can add it to it. So you can get those on eBay, actually, or not eBay, Amazon. You can actually get those on Amazon. And so you can add, and I'll do that in the future. I'm gonna add the bleeder screw to the top, so I don't have to take these things off to bleed the brakes. So I'm gonna do that, not in this video or the next one, but I'll do that sometime in the future. But they do have that as an option. You can order that. I'll actually link that in the description below. So in case you want to do this, I don't advise it, but they're bigger brakes. The rotors are bigger. The calipers are larger. They're not 4-piston like the factory ones. They are, or 2-piston, not 2-piston. There's just one larger piston on that side, but the brake pads are larger, so it does have more braking surface. And the back the back brakes are going to be bigger also. So I need to do these before the V12 goes in it. But like I said, that's not ideal, and honestly, I don't recommend anyone do it, but I got the calipers for free, front and back, and then I kind of got to a point of no return, and it was kind of a Dr. Ian Malcolm situation.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they didn't stop to think if they should.
So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, watching me screw up these brakes. Thank you for watching. Give me a thumbs up, and make sure you hit subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification icon so you get notifications when I post new videos. Also, remember, I'm going to be doing a giveaway of some Snap-on products on my Patreon. So go to the Patreon to subscribe, and you'll get a chance to win some of the stuff that I'm going to post. I'll do a YouTube short, and then I'll also do a video on Patreon. You can see the stuff that I have to give away. So thank you for watching. See you next time.